In the middle of a loud alien market filled with flashing lights, shouting traders, and strange smells, a small alien girl sat alone. Her skin was pale purple, her silver hair messy, and one of her legs was missing below the knee. A broken metal stick had been tied to her stump, acting like a crutch. She wasn't much older than 16 in human years. Around her neck hung a wooden sign that read, "Will work for a prosthetic leg." Her name was Sira, and she had been sitting there for 3 days. No one wanted her. Some aliens glanced at her, then quickly looked away. Others laughed or mocked her. One trader even threw a rotten fruit at her once, calling her scrap with skin. Every time someone came close, she would raise her head and whisper, "Please, I can still work. I can clean. I don't eat much. Just give me a chance." But they never listened. Sira's leg had been taken from her in a factory explosion. She had worked 12 hours a day making engine parts in one of the outer colonies. When the pipes burst and fire filled the room, she was the only survivor. Her leg was crushed and later cut off by a rusty blade without real medicine. Since then, she had been thrown from one place to another like trash that no one wanted to keep. The trader who owned her now had dropped her price to the lowest in the market. 1 coin. He shouted, "Take the broken girl. She's silent, small, and won't complain. 1 coin." Still, no one came until a human walked by. He was tall, wore a brown coat, and had a serious face. His eyes, sharp and deep, scanned the stalls but paused when they landed on Sira. He stopped. Just stood there, silent. Sira felt his stare. She looked up slowly, her one working leg shaking a little under her weight. Her voice came out dry. "Human, please don't look at me like that. I know I'm broken. Just go." But the human didn't move. The trader noticed him. "Ah, Earthman, you want her?" He laughed. 1 coin. I'll even throw in a food pack." The human didn't laugh. He walked closer. Sira's heart raced. Was he going to laugh at her too? Was he going to take her to a junkyard? Or worse? He knelt down, close enough to look into her tired eyes. "What's your name?" he asked. She blinked, surprised. No one had asked that in a long time. "Sira," she said, barely above a whisper. "I'm Callan," he said. "Do you want to leave this place?" She nodded, though, unsure what he really meant. He stood up and placed a shiny credit chip on the trader's table. The alien laughed. "You fool, she's worthless. But sure, take her." Callan didn't respond. He gently reached out his hand. Sira looked at it for a moment, then slowly took it. His touch was warm, kind. Careful. As they walked away, many stared. Some even shouted things like "crazy human" or "What will you do with that broken thing?" But Callan didn't look back. They walked for a while in silence. Sira limped beside him, her metal stick clicking on the stones. After some time, she asked softly, "Why did you buy me?" He didn't answer at first. Then he said, "Because no one else did." Her eyes filled with tears. He stopped walking. "You're not broken. You've just been hurt." Sira tried to hold back the emotions, but they came anyway. The pain of being unwanted, the fear of being taken, the shock of someone finally seeing her, it all spilled out in quiet sobs. Didn't touch her or ask her to stop. He simply stood beside her until she calmed down. That night, Sira slept in a real bed for the first time in years. She didn't know where she was or what tomorrow would bring. But she knew one thing, this human. This quiet man named Callan had seen her when no one else did. And maybe, just maybe, she was not as broken as she thought. Sira woke up slowly, expecting to feel cold stone beneath her or the chains around her ankle. But there were no chains. She was lying on a soft bed, covered with a warm blanket that smelled clean. For a moment, she thought it was a dream. Her eyes blinked open, and above her was a wooden ceiling, not the metal roofs of the market cages. Sunlight came through the window. Real sunlight. She sat up quickly, confused. Her body tensed, ready to run if only she could. But her injured legs still hurt. Then the door opened. The human stepped in. Calen. He was holding a small tray with food, fresh bread, some warm stew, and a cup of water. He placed it on a table without a word. Sarah stared at him, unsure what to say. No one had ever brought her food like this. Usually, it was thrown at her feet. Eat, Callan said simply. You need your strength. Still unsure, she picked up the bread and sniffed it like a hungry animal, checking if it was real. Then she took a bite. Her eyes widened. It was soft. And good. Her mouth began to move faster, chewing, swallowing. For the first time in forever, her stomach didn't hurt. When she looked up again, Callan was gone. He wasn't watching her like a master. He wasn't asking anything from her. That confused her even more. Later that day, Sarah tried to explore the place. The house was small but warm. The walls were lined with strange machines and tools, old weapons, rusty robot arms, sketches of mechanical parts. She understood little of it. In one corner, there were metal rods and glowing wires. She saw a note that read, "Prosthetic Test Trial Number 4. Her breath caught. Was this a workshop for making legs? She heard Callan outside, cutting wood. Sarah went to the doorway. She leaned against the wall, watching him work. His arms were strong, movements quiet and steady. He looked peaceful, not like other humans she'd seen in the colonies. Loud, cruel, greedy. He noticed her but didn't stop. You don't have to stay inside, he said. I don't understand you, she said softly. He paused. What do you mean? Why did you buy me? You've said almost nothing. You feed me, give me this bed. But I'm no use. I can't even clean without falling. You saw me limp. You saw my stump. Why would someone like you want someone like me? He looked at her carefully. Then he placed the axe down and walked over. I don't need a servant, he said. I saw someone trying to survive. That was enough. Her voice cracked. I thought you'd use me. That's what everyone does. I'm not everyone. She had no words, no answer. Her mind had been trained to fear, to expect pain, to trade herself for small kindnesses. But this man, he didn't want anything from her. Not even her thanks. She turned her face away, embarrassed by the tears that came again. But he didn't comment on them. Instead, he quietly said, That room with the machines? That's where I fix broken things. She nodded slowly. I'd like to try to fix something for you too. She looked up. His eyes weren't full of pity, they were calm, determined. Your leg? He asked. Do you want a new one? Her lips trembled. Then, slowly, she whispered, yes. It was the first time anyone had ever asked her what she wanted. And the first time she had dared to say it. As the sun went down and night settled over the quiet mountains, something new stirred inside Sarah, something soft, fragile, and almost forgotten. Hope *. The next morning, Sarah woke up early, out of habit. Her body still expected punishment if she didn't work before sunrise. She looked around the small room, half expecting the soft bed to vanish and the market cage to return. But the warm blanket was still wrapped around her, and sunlight again peeked through the wooden window. She limped out of the room quietly. Callan wasn't inside. For a moment, she froze, unsure of what to do. Was she supposed to start cleaning, cooking? Would he punish her if she didn't? So she dragged herself toward the kitchen area, biting her lip as her leg throbbed. She grabbed a pot, spilled water trying to fill it, and dropped a bowl. The noise echoed loudly. She tensed. Back in the slave camps, that would have meant lashes. There were no shouts, only quiet footsteps. Callan appeared in the doorway, a mug of something warm in his hand. He looked at the spilled water, then at her trembling hands. "What are you doing?" he asked. I was trying to prepare food." "I didn't want to be lazy," she said quickly, afraid. He walked over, took the pot gently from her hand, and placed it down. "You don't work here," he said. "But I'm yours now, right?" Her voice cracked. "That means I do what you say." Callan stared at her for a moment. Then he said something she had never heard in her life. "You're not mine. You're just with me." Her breath caught. She didn't understand, not fully. In her world, people like her were property. Broken things were either used or thrown away. "You don't have to prove anything," he added. "But I'm useless," she whispered. "Even the traders said so. I have nothing to give." He sat down at the table and pointed to the chair across from him. "Sit." She hesitated. "Please," he said gently. She slowly sat, unsure why her chest felt so tight. "You know," he continued, looking at the steam rising from his mug, "I once knew someone who lost both legs in a war. He used to joke he was faster without them. Built his own wheels, taught me how to build prosthetics." "You built those legs?" she asked, surprised. He nodded. "Tried to help soldiers who came back broken. Then the war ended and people stopped caring. I came here to disappear." She watched him in silence. This man, quiet, strong, mysterious, was nothing like the buyers she remembered. He had sadness in his eyes but didn't wear it like weakness. And he looked at her, not through her. "Why me?" she finally asked. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Because no one else stopped." She swallowed hard. Later that day, he showed her the workshop. It was full of strange machines, wires, and blueprints. "You can help me here, if you want," he said. "Not because you owe me, but because maybe it'll help you too." She picked up a small piece of metal and held it in her shaky fingers. "I don't know how to fix anything," she admitted. "You'll learn," he replied. From that day, Callan didn't order her once. He only asked, invited, and offered. When she got frustrated, he let her rest. When she cried, he let her cry. And when she failed, he helped her try again. Days turned into weeks. One evening, after hours of work, she accidentally connected a wire correctly. A small prosthetic finger moved for the first time. She gasped. "I did that?" "You did," Callan said with a rare smile. Her hands were still covered in grease. Her legs still ached. But in that moment, she felt something she hadn't felt since before the factory fire. Pride. Real, glowing pride. And deep down, something else began to grow, something slow and confusing. Not just hope, but trust. The day she laughed and everyone heard it. Sarah stood in front of the mirror, staring at the strange girl reflected back. Her once dull skin now looked cleaner, even a little brighter. Her silver hair was tied back, messy but neat, and on her stump, something incredible, a leg. A real, working prosthetic leg. It wasn't perfect. It was made of old parts, some rusted, some from different machines, but it moved. It bent. It carried her weight. It wasn't beautiful, but it was hers. And when she took a few shaky steps forward and didn't fall, her mouth opened wide. She laughed. The sound came out of her chest, loud and real. She hadn't meant to. It just slipped out. And it didn't stop. She placed a hand on her chest and laughed harder. Not at something funny, but because for the first time in years, she didn't feel like a broken object. She felt alive. Callan looked up from his tools in the other room. He didn't speak, but he smiled to himself. That evening, they sat outside the small wooden house. The sky above them was full of stars, the kind Sarah used to dream about when she was locked away in storage rooms. "I can't believe it," she said, moving her new leg carefully. "I'm walking." You're more balanced than yesterday, Callan replied, sipping from his mug. I laughed today, she added, looking at him. Do you know how long it's been since I laughed? He nodded slightly. Long enough that it surprised you. She looked down at her hands. I was afraid to feel anything, afraid it would all vanish. Things still might go wrong, he said quietly. But that doesn't mean you can't enjoy what's right in front of you now. She thought about that. The past still lived inside her like a ghost. But here, in this strange, peaceful corner of the world, she was beginning to breathe again. Days passed, and Sarah worked in the workshop alongside Callan. She learned the names of tools, learned how to weld, how to connect nerves to wires. Every time she completed something new, she would look over at him. He never praised her with words, but a single nod from him meant everything. Then, one afternoon, while walking to the nearby market to fetch supplies, something changed. 2 alien children were playing in the dusty road. They bumped into her and fell. Sarah quickly helped them up and smiled. It's okay, she said softly. The kids looked at her prosthetic leg and their eyes widened. You're not like the other slaves, one whispered. Sarah paused. I'm not a slave. They ran off after that, giggling. But their words stayed with her. I'm not a slave. Later that night, she whispered it to herself again. I'm not a slave anymore. But peace never lasts long. A few days later, word spread through the nearby colonies. A strange rumor. A broken slave girl now walks with a leg made of power metal. And 1 pair of ears heard it, the wrong pair. An alien nobleman, Lord Drex, who once rejected Sarah at the market, recognized the story. She had begged him back then, even offered to clean his boots for half a meal. He had called her Scrap. Now that same Scrap was walking, smiling, and being seen. He wasn't angry because she escaped. He was angry because she rose. He sent out a notice to his men. Find the human who stole my property. And bring the girl back. She needs to remember her place. Back at Callan's home, Sarah sat by the fire, unaware of the danger coming her way. She looked at him and asked, What would you do if someone tried to take me back? He didn't hesitate. They'd have to go through me first. She smiled, heart warm. But somewhere out in the shadows, boots were moving. Orders were given, and the peace she had found was about to be tested. She had just learned how to laugh again, but soon she'd have to learn how to fight asterisk. They came for the broken girl, but she wasn't broken anymore. The knock came just before dawn. Not loud, not urgent, just slow and cold like a warning. Callan was already awake. He always woke early, out of habit from old war days, but this knock was different. He stood up silently and motioned for Sarah to stay in the workshop. She had been up too, adjusting the balance of her prosthetic leg. She saw the look in his eyes, serious, careful, protective. Outside the door stood 3 armored aliens. They wore black vests with the silver crest of Lord Drex, a cruel noble known for trading slaves like coins. One of the guards held a metal scroll. Human, the leader hissed. You are holding property that belongs to Lord Drex. Return the girl, and there will be no trouble. Callan didn't answer right away. Sarah could hear everything from behind the curtain. Her heart slammed in her chest. She remembered that voice, that slithering tone. It was the same one that once called her unfit even for a cleaning droid. Callan finally spoke. She's not property. The alien's face twisted. Don't play hero. She was sold, marked, and discarded. She's broken trash. We're just taking out the garbage. Sarah stepped forward before Callan could stop her. I'm not garbage, she said loudly. The guards turned. One of them sneered. Ah, still walking on that fake leg, I see. Sarah stared straight into his eyes. And it works better than your brain. The insult was sharp and dangerous, The leader raised his weapon. That's enough. Step aside, human. Callan moved fast. In 1 second, his hidden tool, now turned into a pulse rifle, was aimed at the guard's chest. Touch her, and you'll leave in pieces. Tension exploded. The guards didn't expect resistance. They stepped back slightly, but one aimed for Syrah anyway. She ducked. Her leg, newly tuned, helped her slide behind cover. Callan fired first non-lethal, but strong enough to knock the guard back against the wall. Run! Callan shouted. Syrah didn't want to. She wanted to stay. But more were coming. She could hear vehicles outside, more feet, more weapons. She grabbed a tool belt, wrapped it around her waist, and limped toward the forest path behind the house. Callan followed, covering her escape, but not fast enough. One of the guards fired from behind and hit Callan in the side. He dropped, groaning, clutching his ribs. Callan. Syrah screamed. She ran back, dragging him with all her strength. Don't die, she whispered. Please don't die. I just started living. Blood stained his coat. He looked up at her, eyes full of pain but calm. Go. You have to go. No, she cried. You saved me. I'm not leaving you behind. In a moment of panic and strength, she hoisted his arm over her shoulders and helped him limp through the trees. Each step burned, each breath was a war, but she kept going. Behind them, Drex's men searched the house, found nothing, and began hunting through the forest. They didn't expect her to be smart, or fast, or furious. Syrah found a hidden cave Callan had once shown her, a place he used for repairs and storage. She pulled him inside, found a first aid kit, and began working on the wound. Her hand shook, but her mind was sharp. She remembered how he had patched machines, sealed wires, calmed. Sparks. Now, she used those lessons to save him. He groaned once. She whispered, Stay with me. I'm not done yet. You gave me legs. Now let me be yours. By the time night fell, Callan was breathing easier. The bleeding had stopped. He was asleep. Safe for now, Syrah sat by the entrance of the cave, her prosthetic leg bent, her heart beating like a war drum. They had come to take her like she was nothing, but she wasn't nothing. She was fire and metal, and they would learn that the broken girl they once threw away now had something far more dangerous than strength. She had purpose. She entered the black market alone with fire in her eyes. The next morning, Syrah rose before the sun. Callan was still breathing, but his fever had grown worse. The wound was deeper than she thought. The supplies in the cave were almost gone. She looked at the man who had once picked her out of the dirt and gave her a new leg, a new name, a new life. Now it was her turn. She strapped her tool belt tight around her waist and tightened the straps on her prosthetic. It clicked into place with a soft hum. Then she grabbed her cloak, covered her face, and started walking. Not away, but toward the most dangerous place she knew, the outlaw zone. The black market. It was a place where aliens traded anything, weapons, slaves, stolen tech, even body parts. Syrah had passed by it once when she was still owned. Now she was walking in by choice. Or maybe by rage. The guards at the gate laughed. When they saw her, hey, look, a limping girl with a tool belt. Must be lost. She didn't answer. Just kept walking. Inside, the air stank of oil and fear. Traders shouted offers. Someone was being dragged away in chains. Another was crying, holding a child. Syrah's eyes stayed sharp. She had one goal: find medical supplies strong enough to save a human life. A crooked alien with oily skin leaned close. Looking for something, darling? She nodded. High grade. Med gel. Human compatible. Pain blockers. Blood stitchers. His eyes widened. Expensive. I have this. She held up a rare part from Callan's tool stash, a microcore battery. worth more than most traders made in a week. He reached for it. She pulled back. Supplies first, he sneered, but he obeyed. Moments later, she had a pack full of everything she needed, but trouble was never far. As she turned to leave, another voice echoed through the crowd. Is that the broken girl from Drex's list? She froze. Her hood had slipped. Eyes locked on her. Within seconds, bounty hunters stepped forward. She counted 3. One big, one fast, one smart-looking. All armed. The smart one grinned. Come quietly, little scrap. Drex misses you. Sarah stepped back slowly. Her fingers reached into her belt. She wasn't a soldier, but she knew how to build machines and break them. You can try to take me, she said, but I won't go back in a cage. The big one laughed. And what will you do? Limp us to death? She smiled. No, but I built this. From her belt she threw a tiny sphere. It hit the ground and exploded in a burst of smoke, sparks, and screeching sound. The hunters screamed and fell back. Sarah ran. Her leg whirred with each step, pushing faster than ever before. She dodged through stalls, jumped over crates, and pushed into alleyways. Her heart thundered, but her mind was clear. They chased her, but they didn't know these streets. She did. She had escaped worse. She had crawled through fire once. She had lived with one leg and no hope. These were just another set of obstacles. In the end, she made it out. Bruised, scratched, limping harder but alive. And more importantly, with the supplies clutched in her arms. She didn't stop until she reached the cave. Inside, Callan was still breathing barely. She fell beside him, opened the pack, and began her work. She sealed the wound, injected the meds, cleaned the infection, and whispered through tears, "Stay with me. Please, don't leave me." Hours passed. Her hands ached, her eyes burned. But she didn't rest. At last, Callan stirred. His voice was a whisper. "You came back." She smiled through her exhaustion. "You would have done the same." He touched her hand. "You didn't run." "I never wanted to," she said softly. "Not from you." Outside, the bounty hunters were still searching. But inside that cave, something powerful was growing. The broken girl wasn't broken. And now? She wasn't alone, asterisk. She was once bought for spare parts. Now they called her the girl who gave others hope. The wind brushed softly through the tall trees as morning light broke over the hills. Sarah stood just outside the small wooden cabin she once feared she'd never see again. Her eyes scanned the horizon, but her heart felt steady. Behind her, Callan rested inside, fully healed. Thanks to her. Weeks had passed since she returned from the black market, and everything had changed. She was no longer the same girl who sat on the slave market floor with a missing leg and a cardboard sign. That girl was gone. In her place stood a quiet, confident builder, a girl with tools at her side, knowledge in her hands, and a purpose far bigger than herself. The leg Callan had made for her had been rebuilt by Sarah's own hands. Now, it was stronger, lighter, faster. She didn't limp anymore, but she didn't stop there. In the back of the cabin, under a tarp, lay 3 more prosthetics, each designed for someone else. One for a child, one for a soldier, one for a mother, all broken once, like her word had spread. Quiet at first, then louder. Rumors of the girl with the silver hair and the machine leg who fixes the forgotten. They came in secret at first. Injured aliens, abandoned slaves, veterans, all limping, crawling, or carried. And Sarah welcomed each one. She didn't ask for names. She just asked, "Where does it hurt?" One evening, as Callan stood beside her watching her help a young boy attach his first mechanical arm, he said quietly, "You've helped more people in a month than I did in years." She looked at him. "I only did what you did for me," he smiled. "No, you did more. You became something no one expected." She nodded, then paused. "I want to go back to the market," she said suddenly. He looked at her. "Why?" "To sit, right in that same spot, but not to be sold this time. To offer help." Callan hesitated. "That's dangerous." "I know," she said. "But there's a girl out there, just like I was, waiting, hoping someone will see her." A week later she returned. She sat in the same dirty corner. But now she wore clean clothes. Her new leg gleamed. A box of parts lay beside her, and a small hand-drawn sign said, "Need help walking again? Come sit with me." At first, no one stopped. Then, one by one, they came. A one-armed miner, a blind fighter, a limping child. She didn't ask where they came from or what they did. She just listened, helped, repaired Datsun. Even the guards who once laughed at her didn't dare come near. Whispers followed her now of the girl who built limbs from junk, of the girl who was once bought for nothing but now saved lives. And somewhere, far away, Lord Drex heard the stories too. He sent spies to see her, but they never came back with force. They came back with new legs. One even stayed. Syrah never called herself a leader, never raised a flag. But the people who walked, again because of her, started calling her something new, the Spark. Because when she touched a broken life, something lit up again. At night, when the fires burned low and the stars glowed above her cabin, Syrah would sit beside Callan and ask, "Do you think they'll ever stop calling me broken?" He would look at her and say, "They never did." And she'd smile, because now, when she walked through the village, children didn't point at her leg in pity. They pointed in awe. They pointed and said, "That's her. That's the one who fixed the broken, starting with herself." And that was more than enough.